Ugoma was running as fast as she could, trying to get away from a wild animal chasing her in the bush. She had dropped her stepmother's expensive calabash as she fled. Eventually, Ugoma's legs gave out, and she collapsed from exhaustion and fear. Once upon a time, there lived a man named Chief Mazi, was a wealthy but aging man, desperate to have a son to inherit his fortune and protect his family from his greedy uncles. Despite having 12 wives, 3 concubines, 148 children, and 74 grandchildren, he had no male heir. His most cherished child was his youngest daughter Ugomma, whose mother was his last wife. She had died after giving birth to Ugomma. The chief loved Ugomma dearly and promised to care for her. Mama Adora, who had 3 daughters of her own, was assigned to be Ugomma's caregiver and nanny. Despite Chief Mazi's lavish gifts of clothes, jewelry, and other presents intended for his beloved daughter Ugomma, her caregiver Mama Adora was very cruel and unjust to the young girl. Instead of giving Ugomma the nice things her father provided, Mama Adora kept them all for her own 3 daughters. Poor Ugomma was forced to wear rags or her late mother's oversized hand-me-down clothes. She had to complete 3 times the normal chores and housework before being allowed to eat anything. This excessive labor and lack of proper food caused Ugomma's naturally beautiful looks and healthy disposition to fade away. Ike, a skilled hunter, found himself in love with Neka, who was the daughter of the cruel Mama Adora. He had repeatedly proposed marriage to Neka and professed his love for her, but she turned down his proposals countless times. Despite rejecting his proposals, Neka did accept gifts like bushmeats and fabrics from Ike, since he was a skilled hunter. However, one day when Ike proposes again, Neka bluntly tells him she cannot afford to be with a man who is poorer than her wealthy father, Chief Mazi. This harsh statement from Neka, valuing wealth over love, deeply hurt Ike's feelings. One day, Ike and his friends were drinking palm wine at Mama Adora's restaurant when they overheard a very disturbing scene. An elderly woman, who turned out to be Mama Adora herself, was raining insults and curses on a young girl while physically hitting her repeatedly. The girl, who was crying and apologizing profusely, was Ugomma. Ike tried to intervene, telling Mama Adora that instead of cursing the girl, she should correct her nicely, as humans are bound to make mistakes. It was then revealed that Mama Adora owned the restaurant, and some wicked people had paid for food and drinks with counterfeit, fake Naira notes. In her anger over being duped with the fake currency, Mama Adora took out her fury on poor Ugomma. Cruel act, Mama Adora then ordered Ugomma not to return home until she could get back the real money that was lost. Ugomma was running as fast as she could, trying to get away from a wild animal chasing her in the bush. Eventually, Ugomma's legs gave out, and she collapsed from exhaustion and fear. When she regained consciousness, she found herself in a small, ramshackle hut. A tall, handsome stranger with dark features was tending to a pot of food. "Who are you?" Ugomma asked, her voice trembling. "I'm Ike. I saved you from that wild animal attack." Glancing around, Ugomma realized with a sinking feeling that Mama Adora's cherished calabash was lost during her frantic flight. She burst into tears at the thought of her stepmother's wrath. Ike did his best to console her. "I was falsely accused of a crime and rejected by my village," Ike revealed, "so I've been forced to take refuge here in isolation for my safety." Ugomma gave Ike's hand a sympathetic squeeze. "Do not lose hope. I'm certain this injustice will be righted soon enough." After regaining her strength, Ugomma reluctantly returned to face Mama Adora's fury over the lost calabash. Ike accompanied her, intending to explain how he had rescued the young girl from certain death, but the wicked stepmother refused to listen to reason. Mama Adora was consumed with rage over her precious vessel being lost. She barred Ugomma from entering the household until the calabash was recovered and replaced, despite Ike's impassioned pleas. In the time after rescuing Ugomma, Ike found himself falling deeply in love with the kind-hearted young woman. He confided in his friend Biggie that he had finally found his missing rib, the soulmate he had been searching for. Ike decided it was time to properly introduce himself to Ugomma's family and ask for her hand in marriage. However, when Ike arrived, the wicked stepmother Mama Adora immediately forbade any notion of him uniting with her stepdaughter. She claimed that as a poor man living in exile, Ike was completely unsuitable and too far beneath Ugomma's station. The cruel woman vehemently rejected the possibility of their union, but Chief Mazi, Ugomma's father, had wisdom that Mama Adora lacked. After speaking with Ike privately and asking about his intentions and how he planned to provide for Ugomma, the chief came to believe that true love transcends superficial concerns over wealth and status. To Ugomma's immense joy and relief, her father gave his blessing for her to marry the man who had risked his life to save hers. Chief Mazi saw how Ike's noble heart and the depth of his love for Ugomma outshone any material possessions. The big day came for the marriage. As Ike stood before Chief Mazi and the household to introduce himself, a hush fell over the gathering, for there, among them, was none other than the long-lost prince of their community. Ike revealed that as a young child of 5 years old, he had been sent away to seek treatment for a deadly, contagious illness. His departure was necessarily shrouded in secrecy to protect the kingdom. Upon recovering, he vowed to return home only after finding a virtuous woman worthy of becoming his queen. During his years in exile, Ugomma alone had shown him kindness, sharing her meager portions of food when he feigned poverty. She loved him not for his status, but his true character. This proved her pure heart and noble spirit. Mama Adora hung her head in shame, regretting her cruel treatment of the woman who was to become the kingdom's queen. Her own daughter Neka watched in dismay, painfully reminded of how she had repeatedly rejected Ike's proposals due to his seeming poverty. In a joyous ceremony before the entire community, Prince Ike was crowned the new king upon the passing of his father, and the beautiful Ugama took her place as his wife and queen, honored for her compassion and loyalty.